Hello, you guys. I'm Carlos, and I'm here today with Bishop Merrill. I'm so happy that she's with us here today. It is a special podcast for us. And before we start, I want to invite you to share and like on YouTube or whatever platform you're watching these. And if you're listening through Spotify or Apple, please also subscribe and like us so that we can have more tracking. And also you can share with your friends or whoever needs to know about Bishop Merrill, our newly appointed bishop to the Oklahoma Area Conference, and we are so happy that you're here. Thank you for making time. I know that you're very busy.
Absolutely.
To make this time. So, Bishop Merrill, will you want to introduce yourself to the lovely people of Oklahoma Area Conference? Whatever you want to say about yourself and
Sure.
All and everything you want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have been a bishop. I was elected bishop in November of 2022 and started as the Bishop of Arkansas in January of 23. So I have a little bit of time under my belt as a bishop, but am coming to you from there. And of course, we'll be adding the responsibilities of Oklahoma Indian Missionary, and Arkansas conferences together. This is a time for us to try to do or work with sustainable leadership at the Episcopal level, but also transformational leadership. And so it's a moment of change, but a moment of opportunity as well. I come from the Rio, Texas conference, and most of my life was raised in Austin, Texas. My father was a pastor, and my mother's father was also a pastor. And so a lot of my family is centered there in Central Texas. I lived a lot of other places as well, though. As a young adult in my 20s, I spent nearly a year and a half in Chile with the United Methodist Church. Then 3.5 years on the border in Tucson, Arizona, working with the Methodist Church in Mexico, as well as Central American refugees during that time in the 90s. Then I went to get my seminary degree at Emory and Candler School of Theology in Atlanta. Was there a total of 5 years, then went back to what at the time was Southwest Texas Conference in the south end of Texas, and served as a local pastor for 13 years, ordained deacon in 96 and then elder in 99. So ended up on the cabinet in 2010, and the rest is history from there on. I was district superintendent on the border there in Texas, and then served in the conference office in San Antonio for 5 years. Then did a short stint as a DS again in Austin before my election as bishop. So that's kind of the very small nutshell. I can tell you I have a son who is 28 years old. He almost this week he'll turn 28. He is a public health researcher in Boston, and my daughter is a senior. She'll graduate in December from Texas State University in San Marcos with her degree in psychology. And so my mother lives outside of San Antonio as well. And so just grateful for that foundation. And I'm really, it's a kind of a dizzying moment of a lot of things I don't know and can't see and can't predict, right? But God has been so good to me, both throughout my life and prior to becoming a bishop and since becoming a bishop. And so I'm an itinerant United Methodist clergy person, and I'm going to lean into that and trust the provision of God, as has always worked for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm grateful for the goodness of God, and really grateful for the excitement and the energy of this new opportunity.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, just a historic event happened when you were elected.
Yes.
Because I was there. I was part of the delegation, the Oklahoma delegation, and 3 bishops were elected in the first ballot. Never happened in the history.
It was like since 1846 or something. Yeah.
1846.
Yeah, it had been a long time.
A long time. So 3 bishops elected. That was the move. The whole environment was.
Oh my gosh.
It was. I cannot describe it, but it was just the movement of the Holy Spirit. That's all I can say.
I've told people it felt, because it was the 3 on the first ballot, and I'm not sure it was 3 in the 1840s. It was whatever the full complement that needed to be elected was elected on the first ballot. I don't know that it was 3. It might have been 2, but so the 3 was a big deal, and like what? But also we elected the first black woman in the jurisdiction, yes. Bishop D. Williamston.
Yes, that's right.
We elected the first Native American, yes. Bishop David Wilson, in the whole denomination, the whole history of our church. Since the 1700s, we've never had a Native American bishop. Yeah. And then the first time 2 women were elected in our jurisdiction at the same time. I mean, it was just, yeah. And I've told people that it felt like Pentecost, except nobody had fire coming out of their head. But it did feel like this whoosh, yes. like in the chest. Yes. I could feel it. Yes. And so, yeah, it was a movement for sure. And yes. I feel so privileged. Bishop Wilson and Williamston and I call ourselves the triplets. And so I'm so grateful. Bishop Williamston says that she's my sister, just taller. And so I'm just thrilled to be a part of that. It's a privilege, really, and a joy to have been a part of that.
Yeah, I wish that more people could have experienced that, because it was a wonderful.
It was amazing.
Time. Yeah, it was amazing.
Really was.
It was truly as you said, a Pentecost moment time.
Yes.
Anyway, all right. So, Bishop Merrill, what is your? I know that you have all this figured out by now. What is your overall vision for the Oklahoma Annual Conference?
Right. So a couple of things. The first part of that answer, I would just say that y'all have already done really good work prior to my arrival. I wanted to claim publicly my appreciation for the work of Bishop Jimmy Nunn. Such a man of deep integrity and commitment to a life-giving word of Christ. I'm grateful also to be related to him, and so grateful for his good work. And y'all have already done this work that's pretty recent, that has resulted in, first of all, you participated at a very high level in this survey and kind of a conversation with yourselves that have resulted in what you're calling the 5 dreams. And those are wonderful ways to focus the work of the annual conference, which when we say that term annual conference, sometimes we mean the people who work in the building, but it also means all of us. And so all the churches are the annual conference. And if you're a member or a clergy person in one of those churches, you are also the annual conference. It is us, right? So those dreams belong to us, and they've come out of your heart. They've come out of your faithfulness and your testimony to God's work within you and through you. So that's where I'm going to start. I think my vision overall for the church, and kind of maybe some of this is my personal perhaps vision wherever I am, is the conviction that as times change, as the role of the church in the society in this country shifts, that our life needs to be more and more integrated with and responsive to the life of the community around us. We've talked a lot about, we're this and then we go out there. I think that barrier or boundary is going to need to become much more permeable and less rigid, right? There's less distinction between the two. We are who we are. We are shaped as people of Christ, and we know that, and we're not apologetic about that. We don't drop that, and yet we're not it, right? We are here for the sake of a wider blessing, a larger blessing. Scriptural holiness throughout the land takes different forms, and right now, a world that's in pain, that is broken, that's divided, where people can't talk to each other, and too many children don't have what they need to live a full and productive life. Man, that's our wheelhouse. This is our moment. And so that's my bigger vision, is that there are people around us waiting to be invited and who have things to bring to this work, that I look forward to figuring out ways to be community on a broader scale.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, at the beginning of this conversation, I said that you're a very busy person, and to say you're a busy person is a really understatement.
Sure.
So therefore, what is your plan or plans so far to be present across, as you say, the Oklahoma Conference, meaning here at the office that you will be, but all around?
Right. Well, one of the things that I did learn in Arkansas is that is the value of being present in places, right? And in particular places that that need to feel seen, right? And not just by me, but me as a representative of all of us. So that is important to me. You know, one of the restrictions of this new arrangement is just that I can only be in one place at one time. But I know the value of showing up. And so you know, if I'm going from here to there, I'm asking how many places can I be on the way, you know? And so we are using technology in the sense of coordinating calendars. Already, Arkansas staff, Oklahoma staff, Oklahoma Indian Missionary staff all have met each other. We're in the same kind. No, everybody doesn't meet together all the time. That's not the point. But that folk can coordinate with each other, and so it just will mean that I have a little less available time in the whole year calendar to be on the ground in Oklahoma. But this fall, I'm on the ground much more here than I am in Arkansas for this initial period, and soon we'll be planning the calendar for the spring, and then we'll see what that looks like too, right? But I think that you know, we're using all the tools that are at our disposal to communicate well with each other. The other thing, and I think we may address this in a moment, but you know, the other thing that I'm hoping to find in an organic way, not a way mandated by me or laid on top of people, but organic ways that there's collaboration across lines that in the past we just didn't think to try to cross. So again, I'm not making anything happen, and yet there will be places where there's a natural, well, why don't we do that together, right? Both would be blessed. Each will bring something to the other. And so that kind of stuff makes my eye twinkle and makes me excited. And I think it's part of the energy and part of the provision of God that we just have yet to discover. So it's going to be, you know, but the other thing I'll say about this is that neither Oklahoma nor Arkansas nor OMC OMC and Oklahoma are used to this. These two other states are not used to sharing, and yet there are multiple bishops across this country. I've said this someplace else. You know, the Dakotas and Minnesota are all in one. They have one bishop, right? Like this is not the only place, and so it can be done. It's hard work, and we have to try to do it well without, you know, wearing anybody out. But and then in other countries, I mean, in other parts of the world, they've got multiple countries with the same bishop. So we can do this. We can do this. It's just going to be different from what we've known, but it's not just me. It's all of us, right. And we're going to, you know, amplify the team and try to stay in touch with each other. Right. Yeah.
I do know that you will have upcoming get together in the West District.
Yes.
Woodward.
Thank you. The other thing I was going to say is that on this retreat that we were at this last week with the cabinet, I asked for a map because I have lots of events on my calendar, but I couldn't. I'm a very visual person, and I needed to be able to see where those are. Well, as we looked, the one thing was that I wanted to get a little farther west than we had planned, and so we dropped a day of cabinet and added one more day to get to Woodward. And so with that, I'm actually covering quite a bit of the state. I still, there's a little farther west that I want to get, but that's probably going to have to be on the next round at some point. But yeah, I'm gonna make some, you know, travel some miles this time, and it was really heartening to me to make little circles and X's and whatever on the map of Oklahoma, and to see, oh yeah, I'm there and there and there, you know. So, and I'm going to continue to try to do that the best I can.
Yes. So you heard it here. If you know, contact your district administrator and know when Bishop Merrill is going to be in your area, and you can come and say hello and introduce yourself to her, so that you guys get to know her and just get that report going. So Woodward is one, but I know that there are many,
there are
many
lots.
coming.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll be at the Communities Impacting Poverty events.
Yes.
Those trainings, and I'll have a little time to kind of visit with people at those. We've got just Sunday morning services. I've got OIMC meet and greet events as well. So yeah, there'll be a variety of opportunities just in the short term.
So
Yeah.
pay attention to the calendar.
There you go.
Be around.
That's right.
All right.
I'd love to meet you.
Okay. Just a couple more questions.
Sure.
So perhaps there are some worrying
Yeah.
among conferences and conference.
Sure.
About the possibility or I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma and Arkansas conferences will become one.
Right.
Do you have any word on this matter?
I mean, my only word is that, like I've never been a part of that sort of change. I was a part of the unification of the Southwest Texas Conference and the Rio Grande Conference. Those already overlapped each other geographically. Now that was a cultural bridge that had to be built and kind of nurtured. So that was a little bit different. I've never been in on that kind of thing, so I can't say. What I can say is that there's no secret plan to do that, right? I think one of the things that across the nation in the United States we're going to be looking at is what are the configurations that best make ministry possible and fruitful, that help us use our resources in the best way, and not just for the benefit of the bishop. Like that, I can tell you that. This is not going to be what makes it easier for me. That is not the question. The question is what will amplify and lift up and strengthen the local level of the church and the people at that local level to do their job, right? And so that's always going to be my question. There is no secret agenda or plan to make these two be one conference. That's not a thing. I mean, I can tell you that right now.
Debunked.
Yeah, I mean, it is what I'm not going to say is that's never going to happen. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't see to the end of the road.
Sure.
But there's nothing in the works right now that says that needs to happen. So
you hear it here too first.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah.
So finally, how can we, all the Oklahoma Annual Conference, as you said, not only the staff here, but
Right.
all the churches, all the clergy, everybody who is in the churches, is part of the Oklahoma Annual Conference, how can we help you fulfill your responsibilities, knowing that you will have 3 conferences and so many responsibilities? So how can we pitch in to alleviate your burden, the load?
Honestly, I mean, I don't want you to worry about that. That's what I'll say about that. What I would ask you to do, and this is not for my sake, this is for our sake, is to be bold about telling the stories of your successes. And I don't mean your success, I mean God's success in you, right? But the places where you see life happening in your church and in your community, I hope that you will tell that story. Because, the people in your town need to know it, but there are other towns like yours, even in a completely different part of the state, they need to know it too. Because folk need to know that somebody who looks like me, somebody whose church looks like my church, is able to do this thing that they never thought they could do, and we can learn from their story. Carlos can't be everywhere, I can't be everywhere, and when I am someplace, what I don't have time to do is then go write a 6-paragraph story about the thing I saw. We need you to do that. We need you to tell your story, put your phone up, take a tour, tell the story, and Carlos is an amazing resource for communications and getting our story out to one another. And so he will help you do that. But I think more than anything, I'm not sure there's a lot. We'll figure out how to let me figure this job out. That's one question. But the bigger question is, how do we strengthen one another as a connectional church? How do we build the connection? And that is what I think my job is. So okay, I'm revising my answer. You can help me, right, by helping build this connectional church from the ground up. Anything you think somebody else that you just want to celebrate and you want to lift up the people who've been faithful in your place, tell that story. Get your 12-year-old, or your youth group to record this for you if you don't know how to do it, right? And let's get these stories shared. Let's stir up that pot a little bit and get some new oxygen into the system.
Yes. Please send us all your information. Send us stories. We want to truly push it all out.
Absolutely.
So that the people know that what good God is doing through us United Methodists in Oklahoma.
That's right.
Bishop, anything else that you want to conclude telling the good people of Oklahoma?
Yeah, no, I recently was privileged and just, delighted to get to spend a day with the clergy of the conference at the gathering of the orders of elders and deacons and the fellowship of local pastors and associate members. That was a joyful day, and it just was another day that gives me great confidence in the provision of God. I do say a lot that God has already given us everything we need to do what God has asked us to do. Now, will more come from other places? Absolutely. But we don't need to wait on God to give us something. We've got everything we need to get started. And part of what we have, and part of what God has given us, is each other, right? Gifted, devoted people who are excited about being United Methodists and following Christ in the Wesleyan way. And y'all are some of those people, and so let's get to it. Let's proceed with the assumption that God's promises are trustworthy and true, and then get ready for the party.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Bishop Merrill, to being
Absolutely.
here today. For everybody, thank you for tuning in. Please keep Bishop Merrill in your prayers as she travels literally all over the place. She is very busy, so please pray for strength, for vision, and for stamina as she goes on and on, visiting all of us and leading us in this new phase of the Oklahoma Conference. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And see you soon.
Thanks.